got the Honda Civic back on the ramp, which means we're getting it ready for our second ever track day. So yeah, we're just getting ready for our second ever track day. There's a couple of things that I wanted to do to the Civic before we took it up there, and one of them was upgrade the pads. I've only chosen to upgrade the front pads for this time, guys. To be honest, I don't have sponsorship and I don't make any money off these videos, so everything I spend on the car is entirely my own money. It's already cost me £125 to book onto the track. Then I've got fuel to get there, fuel to get round, etc, etc. So these pads were around £90, so we're going to upgrade these. We've got some fluid here as well to upgrade the fluid. So I'm only doing the front pads because they're doing most of the braking. Along with the fluid, we should get good enough results for what I'm using the car for. And the reason I have chose these ones, so these are red EBC pads, so red stuff pads. The reason I have chose these above the yellow stuff or even Frodo pads is because this is only going to be on the track every now and again, and it's to be used for like the school run, shopping, etc, etc. So I do understand that those pads could be used, but these are a bit more friendly, I believe anyway, I've never used them. These are a bit more friendly for everyday use and then taking it to the track for the few laps that we're going to do and then drive home again. Whereas if I was to use the yellow stuff, etc, those actually require heating up a little bit in order to get into work, to get the maximum potential out of them anyway. So I've chose these red stuff ones just for that occasion. I think we should get some better braking out of the car and see if we can knock those times down, combined with some seat time for myself as well. So we're going on the track. It's a 2-hour slot that we've got booked, so it's like 6 PM to 8 PM. So we're going to try this time to get as many laps as possible in that time frame. The last time I was there, we spent a lot of time off the track and we tried to do those 4 kind of sessions during that one track day. This time I'm going to try and stay out on the track a lot longer. So to do that, I'm going to require better brakes. Another couple of things that need done on the car, we've got the ABS light is back on, and I have scanned the car, and that's because that sensor I've done is saying open circuit, so there's a little fault there needing looked at, and I have a slight blow from the exhaust. So we've got a new door knock gasket for that. While I have the car on the ramp, I'm going to use this opportunity to basically prepare it for this track day, so I'll give it a health check, make sure everything's good, and I won't be driving it again until it's time to actually go to the track. It's not been used that much, to be honest, recently. We've kind of got 2 other cars that are on the go, but we're just going to get stuck into this and get these pads on. Okay, so I've got the ramp up. I want to show you guys the procedure I'm going to do for this. What I'm doing just now is I'm using a little pry bar, and I'm just putting it in the back of the caliper here, and I'm going to pull it, and that's going to push the piston back without me actually loosening the caliper yet. What that's going to do is push all the fluid up into the reservoir, and then I'm going to draw the fluid out of the reservoir, put fresh stuff in, and then start the bleeding process. Ideally you could do this with the front and the back, but I'm sure these are wind backs in the back, and I'm going to be lazy and I'm not actually changing the back pad. So what I'm going to do, I know there's more fluid because that line is longer, but I'm just being lazy, guys. I'm going to draw this back, get the fluid out, and then we're going to just do a normal bleed procedure, starting from the furthest from the reservoir. I have a bleeder, so I'm going to use it to suck all the old fluid out of the reservoir that I've pushed out, replace it straight away with fresh, and then I'm going to start drawing it through with this, and that should have us with new fluid. Okay, so now that we've pushed this piston back, I'm going to remove the caliper, change the pads, then that way when I start pushing the new fluid through, I don't have to push the pistons back again to get the pads in, so it just makes more sense to do it this way. I've already cracked that one off. Good tip here, guys, before you do this kind of thing, I have already done so. I've double checked that my bleed nipples are going to crack off, so that we can do this procedure. The last thing you want to do is start messing about with everything and your bleed nipples are short and they're going to snap on you. I did actually gently heat the other one on the opposite side. Obviously I wouldn't advise that if you've got nice calipers and stuff because you're going to damage the paint, but these are nothing I'm worried about. This is our shitbox track car, so you don't need to worry. There you go, it's all pushed back. I'm just going to hang it up there, that should stay safe for a while. They've recently just been changed and I can tell that by the condition of the disc, and the wear on the pads is very minimal. We are now I'm just going to remove the caliper and we're going to service that up and clean it up before we put in the new pads. So when I say about servicing the carrier, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure the sliders are nice and free, get them worked off. That will help with our braking efficiency. And then I'm actually going to remove the shims and clean it up with a wire wheel and actually file and scrape away underneath the shim. Does actually look as if I'm a shim missing. Look. So just to show you guys, I have cleaned that up. I've just used a wire brush, I actually removed the shim and clean down behind it. You'll find there is always a little millimetre or a half millimetre of rust and corrosion built up on these surfaces here, so I scrape them back with either a file them down, or just scrape them back with this flathead screwdriver and make sure that our sliders are working, and that's my version of servicing this, ready to back and reinstall onto the car and fit the new pads. Power tools are always handy guys. That was 2 quick nips, but we don't know what that is torqued to or how tight that is, so I always double check it by hand, and I always start the threads by hand as well, never just gun them on. Just going to show you guys the unboxing. So I've opened the box, we have some cool stickers that we might stick on and tap this car up a little bit. We've just got some fitting kit, and then the pads themselves. See that better. These are supposed to be decent for like reducing the dust and stuff, brake dust, but I'm not really sure on that, to be honest with you. We're going to find out although these wheels could be doing with being cleaned. Another thing I'm going to do while we're doing this guys, I'm going to swap over the tyres. I'm just going to rotate them, so front, switch them with the back, and I'm doing that because the back has slightly better tyre tread. The front's got about 4mm, the back's got about 6 or 7. I'm just going to swap them over because we're asking the front of this car to do the power and the handling at the same time, so I'm just going to want to make sure that we've got the best tyres on the front. So I've just fitted the fitting kit on. Anytime I'm doing brakes guys, I do a little saying in my head, so just go around it tight, 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 tight. Make sure my line isn't crossed over, there's no kinks, everything's good, and make sure the caliper's willing to slide, which it is, and then that is this side done. Now repeat the process on the opposite side. So we've built up some fluid in the reservoir, and I'm going to start soaking it out. That's even better. So I've removed all that fluid. That just means that we can fill it up with racing fluid, which has got a higher boiling point, which is going to help us on the track. And we're pushing brand new fluid through this line now. I've bought 2 bottles, I think it cost me around £25 for both, something around that mark. I bought two. It probably should only take one to flush this through, but we're going to have a little bit of waste, and I want to guarantee that we're getting the higher quality fluid in this. Oh, it's clear. It's very clear. Almost can't see that. I'm starting to think I sold my water. Smells like cola. Filled this reservoir up, we're going to keep an eye on it and I'm going to start bleeding the brake lines now. I've cracked it open, I can see the fluid starting to move and we're just going to start soaking it through. So I'm soaking through and I'm constantly going back and checking the reservoir to make sure we're not going below the minimum level. So we've got the car's wheels back on and I'm just going to talk you through the last few remaining bits that I patched up. So, last couple of things I did there, off camera, I put the wheels back on, I've scanned the code, I'm getting open circuit on the back driver's sensor. I went to it. You'll remember if you've watched one of the repair videos on this Civic series, basically when I repinned, after setting fire to the plug, I repinned it and I never put the little rubber protector round. Well, basically it's corroded in there and it's broken off, creating an open circuit. I've tried to solder, I've just kind of patched the plugs right now and I've tried to solder them directly, but I'm not sure if it's happy, to be honest. The code's not really wiping, but I could be doing with it going a drive to see if it's going to actually take a reading off it and then that might wipe the code, but we'll see. If not, failing that, I don't actually have time, so we're just going to run it with the back ABS sensor faulty. Other things I have done, I've inspected the blow in the exhaust. It's not actually donut gasket, the back box had a slight blow, so I don't have a spare back box in time, so I've put some repair paste on it. Last thing I'm going to do quickly is just check the oil levels, check all my levels, and go through that before we go. I'll be working tomorrow and then we'll be leaving from there, so I want everything complete on the car tonight, torque the wheels, etc., and then we are good to go. So that is our spanner check and upgraded pads and fluid complete. We've gave the car a good look over. A couple of things I'm just going to do off camera, just torque the wheels now. You guys don't really need to see that. Next video we're going to be back on the track for our second ever track day. This is a beginner's course, so I'm getting the chance to review a novice night and give you guys that feedback compared to the first time that I went to the track. And another thing I'm going to try and do is read through the comments that you guys left me from my first beginner's day, make some notes, and I'm going to try and implement them on this track night to see if it improves my experience and improves my track times. If any of you guys are thinking of getting your own track car or project car and doing it up and going to the track, and you're looking for some help or inspiration, I've got a few videos that will pop up on the screen now. Give them a click, watch through them, and let me know how you guys get on. We'll see you at Knock Hill.